Okay, so basically been doing a lot of 22 Edo stuff the last couple days. Just like coming up with names for chords and stuff. And I believe I have the first like complete system for the all the three-note triads. So I mean a lot of chord names have been proposed just for different triads. I mean, obviously, all the ones that are also in 12 Edo have been named. And then some of the ones that are common to a lot of Edos have been named, like super major, sub minor, blah, blah, blah. And there's still some, like, disagreement as to how to name even those basic triads. But as far as I know, there has not been just a system for all 16 notes. I mean, notes for all 16 chords. And I've come up with one, and so far I like it, and I have mentioned it to the xenharmonic alliance, and nobody's really said they liked it, but nobody's really argued with it. And the only person who was kind of arguing with me was using the terminology, so they weren't really arguing about the terminology so much as something else. So I don't know. I think I'm gonna post it on one of the other microtonal groups and see if anybody objects to it or whatever. Obviously, for the naming scheme to go anywhere, people just have to use it. I mean, that's really what it boils down to. But I think it's a good sign that at least I haven't had like a bunch of people saying, "Oh, these names don't make any sense." So I do just kind of want to go over what they are. I have them all written down here, but I'm actually gonna start a new, make these bigger, make the font size bigger. So I keep everything big. Dude, how do you just make everything big? I don't know how to use the notes. Bug. Explain me. Just get bit by an earwig? That's weird. I don't think they bite. Something just bit me. Just saw an earwig. Anyway, okay. So how do you change the font size on this? Can you? Notes kind of sucks. Why can't you just change the size of the font? Maybe I should use a different program. I could go on Google Sheets or something. Can you zoom in? How does this work? Okay. I need 16 of these. Let's zoom out a little bit. Can I just type in what the zoom is? Yes. Alright, maybe a little less than that. Okay. So, that's showing up on the screen. Okay, so yeah, I'm just gonna go through like the naming scheme I came up with for all the chords. I'm doing it fresh just to make sure I still remember it too. So basically, I'm defining a triad as, you know, the traditional definition of a triad, which is it's a three-note chord made out of thirds. I know a lot of musicians uh, have a more liberal definition of the term. They might consider like a suspended chord a triad, or even like a 1 sharp 4 5, blah blah blah. Not including anything like that. These are just the basic triads, just combinations of thirds, and only the main types. So that'd be the minor third and major third, obviously, and the sub minor third and the super major third. So there's only 16 combinations of those. So sub minor will be little s, and then minor will be little m, major will be big M, and then super major will be this, and then so these can combine, sub minor, sub minor, sub minor minor, sub minor major, sub minor super major, blah blah blah. It just repeats. Minor, major, super major, sub minor, minor, major, super major. So just go through like this. So like the main ones, so major, minor. Everybody knows it's just a major triad. So just call it major. For example, it could just be like a C major. That's the chord symbol. That's the other thing I'm gonna do that I haven't actually shared yet, is that I think I have a. No, I don't have Ableton. This is Google Sheets. I think I have like a notation scheme too, so I'll test that out today. So yeah, so basically it's just 22 Ito chords. We'll just name this to 22 Ito triads. So major minor makes a major chord. So just be like capital letter C or whatever. And then of course minor major makes a minor chord. I'm gonna do most of the capitals, but it could be C, little m, it could be little c. It could be C minus. Let's put a few of those there. Oh, I see. That makes sense. Yeah. I'm thinking about getting Ableton. It'll probably be a minute. But probably not till next year, but yeah, I kind of want to get Ableton. And then sub minor, super major makes a sub minor triad. Which then would be like either C little s or C sub or C sine, whatever. I don't know any other ways of doing it. And then if you do super major, you can see this right. Yeah, super major, super major. We call that a super major. No, super major sub minor. We call that a super major triad. Be like C S, C sub, C sage, whatever. Okay. So those are the main ones, main triads. And then those are the most straightforward ones, obviously. So what are some other like common chords? You know, in 12 equal, what are your triads? You have major, minor, diminished, and augmented. You only have 4 types. So obviously we have 16 types here. And it gets a little weird when we go to our um, diminished and augmented chords, which I'll get into in a minute. But basically, so Chris Vaisville came up with a couple names. So like, if you have subminor, subminor, he calls it tiny. But it also, if you stack subminor thirds, that creates a temperament called Orwell. So you call it Orwell or tiny. I think subdiminished is fine too. But yeah, those are all names for that. And I'm kind of leaning more towards Orwell. And then if you do 2 super majors, Chris Vaisville calls that a giant triad. This would also be like, if you were just going by note spelling, this would be like a super Pythagorean augmented chord. So it's sort of like a kind of augmented chord. Actually, the temperament that you can kind of get at stacking this interval. I don't really understand this bit too much, but someone was explaining it to me on a xenharmonic alliance, some of the RTT people. But basically, kind of like how subminor thirds make Orwell, super major thirds make sense of magic. So this is kind of a weird, it's like a weird augmented. Let's put that note over here. It's just like a weird augmented. So this is pretty much the main ones. Well, these 4 are the main ones. And then you're like, well, where's your diminished? Was Orwell diminished? It's 2 subminor. So if you listen to that, I don't know if that's diminished. I guess it's kind of diminished. So it's definitely in like a diminished sort of family. But what about a minor third? So this is one that in Porcupine, if you stack, I guess not Porcupine, but if you stack these 3, and this is Porcupine right here. I guess it would be a Porcupine chord. So there's this chord where it's just a stack of minor thirds. It's a 4-note chord. And they were saying this is called a chemic 7th chord, so I figured just call that a chemic triad. Or since it's basically just Porcupine, call it Porcupine. And again, that's kind of a weird, like, is it diminished? Like, what is that? It's kind of a weird zone. Feels sort of diminished, sort of not. It's kind of its own thing. I think a better diminished triad is like, so if you're in, if you're playing a G7 chord, just take off the root, you have a diminished triad, right? So that'd be down B to D, which is a minor third, D to F is subminor. So minor, subminor, that's a diminished. But what if you did the reverse? What if you did subminor minor? Let's do it here. So if you did subminor minor, that sounds diminished too. So to me, those are both diminished. And I honestly think the subminor minor sounds more diminished. But the minor subminor follows the overtone series. It's like 5, 6, 7 basically. So this is O-tonal, and then this is literally the opposite direction. This is like 7, 6, 5 or whatever. So this is like U-tonal. So how could you write these? So I'm thinking for the O-tonal diminished, you could do like O-dim or something like that. Or even just like OT, maybe. Or O and then the little diminished symbol. Something like that. And then for this, it could be, just replace the O's with a U. Give me that symbol. So same with like chemic, it could probably just be K or possibly P if you wanted to lean into the porcupine. Either small or big or whatever. And kind of leaning towards K, but it could be P or P. And then for the Orwell, I'm thinking W. And here I'm going to put a little diminished symbol too, because it's kind of a diminished chord there as well. And because 2 subminor thirds. So we basically have like 3 kind of diminished chords here. So anyway, this is already looking pretty decent. Like we have diminished chord, we have a few flavors of diminished, we have the basic triads. We're missing augmented, and we also have a bunch of, like, there's a lot of space left here, so. Well, what's an augmented chord? It's just, it's just 2 major thirds basically, but we have 2 flavors of major in 22. We have major and super major. So let's start with major major. So that would be like in 12 equal, 2 major thirds makes an augmented chord. In 22, that sounds like this. So that'd be like C to down E to double down G sharp or whatever. Yeah. Because this is G sharp. So it'd be double down G sharp. Honestly, to me, that doesn't sound that augmented. Like, but if you invert the chord, you get some decently augmented sounding chords, which we'll get to in a second. But the temperament that you get from stacking those major thirds in 22, it's called magic. This is already kind of commonly referred to as a magic triad. So like magic, that's already an existing term. Orwell's already existing term to describe chords. Sense of magic, also. So I didn't make any of these up. I just stole them from the community. I mean, just kidding about the stealing part. I just asked people what do they call the chords. So like chemic, O-tonal, U-tonal. Other people suggested all of these, so I I'm not inventing anything here. Um, so anyway, so if you invert that magic, and we'll say this is kind of augmented, right? If you invert this, and then like this is definitely diminished, and this is definitely diminished. All right. So if you invert this magic triad, it's kind of an interesting thing that happens in 22. So if you take a magic triad, well, first, like normally when you invert a triad, like say you take a major triad, this happens in 12 equal, it happens in 22, happens in, most tunings. So, or, most tunings that people use. So C down E, G to make C major in 22. So if you were to invert this triad, so right now it goes major third, minor third. And then if you invert the triad, you get minor third and then a perfect fourth. So in this arrangement of these notes, we just would call this C major in first inversion. And then if you invert it again, you get perfect fourth, major third. So it's the same notes, but there's a perfect fourth in there, and then a third on top. So we say it's C major every time, just a different inversion, because if you're not in root position, you're not stacking thirds. Your thirds kind of get moved around. If you're in 12 equal and you invert a symmetrical structure, so the only triad this would apply to would be an augmented triad. If you invert an augmented triad in 12 equal, you go from like C, E, G sharp to E, G sharp, C. C to E is a major third, E to G sharp is a major third. And then when you invert it, E to G sharp is still a major third, and then G sharp to C is still a major third. So I mean, technically it's a diminished fourth, but it's just a major third distance. So you could spell it differently. You spell it F flat, A flat, C, or whatever. Like the point is the distance sense wise is still a major third. And then it doesn't matter what inversion of an augmented triad you play, its position is always ambiguous because every inversion sounds just as rooted as every other inversion. If that makes any sense. So basically, for augmented triads in 12 equal, the inversion of the chord is basically not that significant. It doesn't change the sound that much. Like, I mean, you still want to consider your voice leading and all that other good stuff, of course, but it's almost like what's happening around it. I mean, that's always true. What's happening before and after always like shapes your voicings and stuff, but you can play an inverted C major chord. You can play an inverted major, minor, or diminished triad, and you can hear the inversions. Whereas you can invert an augmented triad, and it always just sounds like the same inversion. Because it is. It's the same distance between the notes. So in 22, this is not the case, because you can't split the octave into even thirds. You can only split it in half. So, but there is something very interesting, which is that the augmented chords in 22, they're still not like the major and minor chords. So like if we look at the magic triad, that's major third, major third. Now if we invert it, you get major third, super major third. So technically it's, it's like a diminished fourth or something. So technically, you know, you could like notate it as the same notes, but the inversion still sounds different. So this magic triad, it's not the same kind of chord as augmented is in 12 equal, because it's not a symmetrical structure. So as you invert it, you get a slightly different chord quality. Because of this, I think it makes sense to just name this chord, which is, a lot of people seem to think this is like the default augmented triad for 22 equal. I think calling it magic makes more sense than calling it augmented. That's a big part of why. The other reason is like magical seventh chord is already like pretty commonly in use. I think magic triad is used quite a bit, and also we'll get to this in a second. Well, we've got to it already. Like there's also like a sort of alternative augmented triad, which is the sense of magic. So in 22, I'm kind of thinking of this as being like there's like an augmented family. It's definitely debatable, like how far you want to extend that, like what you would include or not include. But that's how I'm looking at it, is like magic is part of the augmented family. So it's a type of augmented triad. But yeah, what's interesting though is that even though this chord inverts, every time it inverts to a new rooted triad, because the chord it inverts to is also made out of thirds, but it's just not symmetrical. So what it shares in common with 12, this feature of every inversion of the augmented triad is another stack of thirds. But what's different is that as you invert, the chord quality actually changes, which there's nothing like that in 12. Off the top of my head anyway. There's just nothing like that in 12. So not with the triads. If you were to look at like 4-note structures and stuff, I'm sure you'd find like similar sorts of things maybe with that. But yeah, and as far as triads, 3-note chords made out of thirds, like you don't get that in 12 ever. So yeah, it's very kind of interesting to me that you can invert this triad and get a new chord. So it's an inversion of another chord, but it's also a rooted new chord. And it kind of sits in this ambiguous zone because it doesn't sound like crazy different, but it sounds just different enough where, like, if I were to play the different versions off the same root, they're quite obviously different. And all of these, so basically, like, this I'm calling the magic triad. This one goes, the first inversion goes major third, super major third. So since the first third is smaller, the second third is bigger, and then on the second inversion, it goes super major third, major third. I'm calling this kind of first inversion that goes major, super major. I'm calling that magic major. And then I'm calling this one that goes super major, major, magic minor. Magic minor, because it kind of follows the same like kind of like size pattern as like a minor chord, you know? So this would be magic minor, this would be magic major. If you play them back to back, they kind of have that sort of, you know, this is the minor magic, major magic, and then this, I'm just calling the regular magic. And really, if you were to compare this to like this minor and major, this would be like the diminished version. This would be like, it's so strange. This would be like a diminished augmented. So and there you have it. So yeah. So these I'm considering all augmented. And actually I think that this magic minor to me is the most augmented sounding. So how would you notate this though? Because like, you know, you're not gonna put an M because that's the same as a major, right? I forgot to put like C in front of all these. You could do like lowercase c or whatever, who cares? But yeah. So I'm kind of just thinking like J for magic or whatever. CJ maybe. And then now for this one it's kind of interesting because it seems like it could be one way or another way. This is the smallest one. But then for the magic minor, so you could do like CJM, I guess. I was thinking though, because it's not really a minor chord, it's like a different sort of thing. It's a magic minor chord. I'm toying with the idea of like doing like minus on these. It's like magic major, you could do like CJ plus. Because that's the other thing is like, are we going to use the plus? We have so many augmented chords. I don't think the plus is going to be necessary in 22. So I'm thinking like maybe to distinguish some of these subtypes. So the magic major and magic minor, that I came up with. But magic I did not come up with. And I applied the same logic to these other chords too. So if you're in Orwell, like playing the Orwell scale or whatever, I might still have it. Here, oops. Yeah, it's right here. So like Orwell in 22 looks like this. So you get this by stacking subminor thirds. So the Orwell triad is this. But there's other, and this is just 5-note Orwell, but these same chords pop up in like bigger versions of it too. There's these other triads that show up in Orwell too. There's this, and there's this. Now, this is not like the magic triad because the Orwell triad, if you invert it, it's like most chords. It's just an inversion. Like you just get the same chord and you like change the you don't have a third between all the notes. Hey, what's up, Romeos? Feels kind of weird having minor in the name of something with a major third bass. Yeah, I definitely can see that. I think but yeah, were you did you hear the differences between those though? Like if you here'd be the magic minor, magic major. Okay. Yeah, I definitely like, if there's a better system, I'm for it. I kind of like this. The thing is, I applied it to all of these, But you know, obviously people are just gonna say what they're gonna say. So, but there, it's also like well, like anyway, let me finish up with the Orwell. So like on the Orwell, you have this triad, also an Orwell, and then wait, yeah, you have these. So these are really similar to just like major and minor triads. But the fifth is like a sub fifth. And these, I noticed these pop up like in nice tone and stuff. I think the minor one does. So this one starts with a sub minor third and then it goes major third. So I've been, since that's in Orwell, I'm just calling that Orwell minor. And then the other one goes major third, sub minor third, and that one I've been calling Orwell major. So probably these you'd be less opposed to because they actually, well, this one starts with a sub minor, but and that could be like CW minus and then CW plus. But I could also see like I kind of think that too, getting rid of like the redundant M's, because like alternatively it could be like what CW min, you know what I mean? Like it's starting to get crazy. CW my, CW ma. So these are definitely options. So let's see, if we were gonna do like greater and lesser on magic, lesser magic and greater magic. So I don't dislike that. And then so anyway, and then that just leaves us with that sense of magic, which I did touch on earlier. But this one is actually, these I really like. I was playing with these before I got on this like naming thing. So I really like this chord, which is, or sorry, it's the sub minor triad with the neutral seventh. If you just take the top of that chord, just take out the root, you get super major third, minor third. And I was playing with the inversions and stuff, and I really liked this voicing of that chord. And it's got this sense of magic giant triad on the top. But yeah, if you take this and you invert it, you get super major and then minor. And then if you invert it again, you get minor, then super major. So these are like kind of funky sounding triads. They kind of remind me of like 23 Ito stuff. They just have this like sort of weird, sounds kind of like a triad, but kind of not. So the minor super major, I've been calling sensa minor, and then sensa major for the other one. And then these, even though they're like this inversion of this weird, like kind of augmented chord, they're almost just like their own thing. They don't really feel augmented. Arguably, this sensa major thing doesn't really feel augmented either. But if you were in like super pi, you could definitely use it as like a augmented triad. So I think this definitely works as an augmented triad. Now this one is kind of throwing me off with the naming. I kind of like Z for this because it's kind of a flip of the S. And I don't know, it kind of reminds me of the shape of it too on this layout. So I was thinking it's like Z for Sense Magic. And then the thing is though, the major is shrunken compared to this. So I was thinking of calling the giant one, putting the plus on the giant one, since it's kind of augmented anyway. But I could see why with the naming scheme being inconsistent that might be confusing, but I don't think it would. I don't think I would be confused by it. I mean, maybe here and again. Point being, it's not perfect. Maybe there's a better way of going about it. But yeah, and that, as you can see, is all these triads. And there you have it. So this is a naming scheme for all 16 22 Ito triads. And yeah, I came up with this with a, based on conversations in the xenharmonic alliance. I definitely didn't come up with it on my own, really, but based on those conversations, I put this together. And yeah. And I think too, actually adding the sevenths is like not that crazy. The reason being, well, I'll put it this way: I think you can cover a lot of ground just by alternating, just by like taking these symbols and just adding a seventh to it. So like, the weirdest one would be like if you were to stack 4 subminor thirds. I don't know what you would call that, but if you stack 4 subminor thirds, you don't even get a seventh. You barely get a sixth. You get a pretty flat sixth. So it's kind of just like a fully subdiminished seventh or something. And then obviously, like, if you were to extend that out, like, okay, maybe that's the fully subdiminished. What if you wanted a slightly bigger third here? So put a minor third on the top of this. Well, I feel like this is like an Orwell 6 chord. It's like not even a diminished anymore. It's like an Orwell down 6. And this would be Orwell 6, and then this would be Orwell 7. Orwell major 7. Orwell super major 7. So like, I kind of feel like the sevenths are pretty straightforward because you can pretty much just take the triad and then put the title of the seventh on the top. And that'll get you a lot of seventh chords. So probably like this times 4. So, and if you added this fully subdiminished to be this times 4 plus 1. So you'd have 65 seventh chords. And I'll just give you a couple examples so you can see what I mean. Like, obviously, like on a minor. So here's what I'm thinking for the seventh chords. So let's say you had C minor. So basically, like the basic seventh chords, there would be 4 basic sevenths you could add. So basically, whatever this is, you could add. Here's how I want to do it. You'd go 7, neutral 7. Why is that one formatting? 7, neutral 7, major 7, super major 7. and it would just be consistent like that. So the C minor 7 would not be this chord though. That'd be C minor neutral 7. It'd be this. That'd be C minor 7. So the to me like this reflects what's going on with the seconds. Because if you ask me, the seconds go sub minor second, minor second. Or sorry. Neutral second. A big neutral second. And then major second. So to me, this is what's happening with the seconds. And this reflects that. So while this seventh definitely feels like a sub minor in certain contexts, like here for instance, over a major triad, it pretty much sounds like a normal seventh. And honestly, this neutral sounds pretty neutral over a major triad. So it's sort of a weird thing in 22 where like the triad influences the sound of this. So like this can sound really subdiminished. So maybe I'll just put like in parentheses. But like, and like in certain contexts this can sound minor, like minor 7. But it's sort of like, I don't know. For the sake of consistency, I think you could get used to just like the occasional weirdness. Like you have to choose something. To me, this makes the most sense because it seems like the best compromise because it preserves it reflects this, which this I don't really feel weird about at all. And yeah, there's just a few instances where this feels like it should be like a sub minor 7 instead of a minor 7. But yeah, basically you could take like any one of these chords and just stick it in front of this. And so you can just multiply these by 4. Because yeah, you can pretty much do that on all these chords. Yeah. So that'd be like a sense of magic 7. Sense of magic neutral 7. Sense of major 7. That one's cool. With the super major 7. So yeah, I mean and it's cool too because now I can go through and like play these scales and I can name all the triads, which I haven't been able to do. Oh, one other thing I wanted to mention was with the Orwell major and minor. I've sometimes heard this sort of chord referred to as like a wolf. So I think the W for Orwell, it could also like double as wolf. So if you wanted to call it like wolf minor, wolf major. The thing is, like, I feel like a wolf can be a sub 5 or an up 5. But it's probably usually a sub 5, I guess. I don't know if that actually is though, actually. But because yeah, I guess you could technically call these sensa chords wolf chords too, because they have like a sharp 5, I guess. The major and minor. Yeah. So wolf may be too ambiguous, but that's why I don't like that really, but it could work, I guess, if you really wanted it to. But yeah, like a nice tone, for instance, if C major, this would be the D Wolf minor, D Orwell minor, and then down E major, and then F G. The rest of them are. But then the diminished chord, that'd be an O tonal diminished. So now like playing through these scales, at least I have like a naming scheme. It feels really good actually, because just having some labels that have some kind of logic to them is quite nice. The only ones I'm maybe like, this one seems very peculiarly special, this chemic. But I don't really know how to fit it in with the other diminished triads. And honestly, it's a weird... It does sound diminished. But... So yeah, these are like all just like diminished. So there might be a better way of, maybe there's a way of relating this to the Orwell chords or something, or combining those systems. I don't really know, but probably just stick with this for now. To you, the chemic sounds resolved, doesn't really pull in any direction. Yeah, it does sound more resolved to me. I feel the same way about that magic triad, like it's... I don't know, I was arguing on the Discord today about, I don't really think that sounds augmented. But I mean, obviously in certain contexts it could. But I feel like in certain contexts this can sound pretty... It is augmented, but it's got like a... It's got some other thing about it too. So yeah, the thing like 22 is weird because since the fifth is sharp, it's almost like the whole tuning sounds slightly augmented. But at the same time, there's like not one single like good augmented chord. But there's a bunch of really interesting chords that you get instead. I mean, to me, this is way more. I mean, there's a reason the augmented chord is like the least common chord. It's like, do you get a perfect augmented in 22? I don't think you do. But are you really gonna miss it? Especially if you have like all these other chords that you can do kind of more interesting stuff with. Like I'm very like interested in kind of exploring some of these different like chord qualities. Now that I put labels on them, I think the hardest, like I was already interested in this like sense-o-magic thing. In a way that kind of kickstarted this whole thing. But yeah, I think the hardest ones for me are these Orwell major and minor chords. These are like very, but I don't know, they're not that bad though. But like, so I have this scale, I don't know, I'm a little all over the place, but so there's like this scale, so on the bottom it's sub minor, and then on the top it's porcupine. So like now I can go through and just name all the chords. So it starts sub minor, and then it's wolf minor, and then it's sensa major, and then it's major, and it's minor. Sorry. No. And then it's O-tonal diminished, and then it's major subminor. What is that one? Is that Orwell major? Let me double check. Major subminor. Yeah, okay. And then back to subminor. See, like all these weird scales, I can just name all the chords now. So this is another one I like. I can't remember what this is called, but it's got a down 2, down 3, an up 4, 5, 6, down 7, back to the root. So it goes major, magic, minor, Orwell major, Orwell major, Orwell minor, Orwell minor, major. You call augmented chords stale bread chords 4? Hold on 1 second. What is it? Stale bread chords 4? Very nice. Hold on 1 second. What? Where's all the augmented chords? 4 is a type? Oh, come on, dude. Stale bread 2, 3. Where's 4? How's that? That looks good, right? So yeah, and also I could see how this could like help to like playing with these different scales and stuff, like come up with names and stuff. It's not really helping me right now though. I don't know what to call this one. It's sub minor on the bottom and porcupine on the top. So it's flat 3, down 6, double down 7, or up flat 7, whatever you want to call that. Just that would be like a melodic, like nice tone melodic minor kind of. sub minor. I don't know, there's too many like names that you could, there's too many scale combinations and stuff. And so many of them are like really similar. Cause like you could do, like, if you just take the idea of like basically a sub minor pentachord and a porcupine tetrachord. Yeah, maybe doing like tetrachords and stuff. Especially when you get to like, you have so many combinations for scales. I don't know any other tetrachord names. Some of them are really kind of like like a too long or whatever. Like it'd be cool to have well, yeah, like if you just want to do like a minor, if you want to do melodic minor, just say, okay, I want to do melodic minor. Well, okay, you're gonna have minor third with super Python top. You can have minor third with a nice tone on top. It's not as good though. You're gonna have sub minor third with a nice tone on top. Sub minor with super Python top. That's got that sensa magic. You call that like sensa, sub minor sensa or something. And I mean, technically you could even do like super nice on top. You know, a lot of these sound so similar. Like it would be very hard to even tell the difference. You do minor with super nice on top. Also, you could try the down two. That sounds weird. That's like porcupine on the bottom. And then goes into super pipe. You do down two sub minor. Super pipe. Let's do down two sub minor super nice. That's a good one. So that's down two, flat three, down seven. So it'd be like melodic sub minor super nice or whatever, but with the down two. Super nice with a down two is not even super nice. I don't even know what it is. Just nice. Sub minor. Sensa minor. Shit. Sensa major. Yeah. And then super major. second did I use? Let's do this one. So sub minor. Oh, that's what I did. Okay. Sub minor, senza minor, senza major. What's the seventh on this? No, I need the root. Super major. Orwell major. Orwell. Orwell diminished, whatever you want to call it. Tonal diminished. Wow, what a trip. So that's sub minor. Senza minor. Senza major. Super major, Orwell major, Orwell minor, eutonal diminished. It's only a 7-note scale, yeah. There's so many combinations, it's crazy. Yeah, this is exciting too because I think now that it's all like on a sheet of paper, like, and it's the 16 basic ones. It's really easy to just like see like, okay, these are the ones I'm familiar with. These are the ones I'm not familiar with. So the ones I'm like the least familiar with are like these sensa triads and the magic triads. And all the flavors are diminished. But yeah, I think when it comes to like stacking thirds and stuff, like to do like extended harmony and stuff, this can get so complicated so fast. You stop worrying about the fact that 5 and 7-note scales get explored disproportionately ever since you found out that almost all cultures converge to 5 or 7-note scales. Yeah, there's something really nice about like a 7-note scale for like structurally. And I think 5-note scales melodically are really nice, like 5 and 6 notes. But it's not really a rule or anything, but I tend to look for 7-note scales doing xenharmonic stuff because it just keeps everything, it keeps a lid on everything. Even the wild ones where octave equivalence doesn't exist, they use something that approaches 5 or 7. Oh, interesting. Yeah, there's probably just something about like limitations of the human brain. It's just like it's like a natural thing. It's like how they say you can like I can't remember the specific numbers, but I heard at one point it's like the average person like can't can't keep track of like more than like 100 people in their day-to-day life. So it's like socially like you can only handle like so, and that doesn't mean like you're close friends with 100 people. Obviously, you're nobody's close friends with 100 people. But just like having 100 people that you were interacting with regularly is like the top of the. It's probably a different number. I don't remember the specifics. But it's like you're. It's like people are more or less confined to certain like processing limitations and stuff. Even on Zoid blocks, we usually use 10-note scales. Oh, damn. Bird song is generally in the same pitch range as their music. Oh, that's interesting. But yeah. See, I feel pretty good about this. And yeah, if anybody has like suggestions on how this could or should be improved, or even just things you don't like about it, even if you don't have a solution, it might be worth considering. Um, but it's not. I don't know. I feel pretty good about it. I kind of like this system of there being like different majors and minors and like sense of magic major, and all that. That's kind of that's kind of satisfying to me. But I can understand why that could be confusing too. But we're talking about our brains being comfy with dealing with that number of notes. That doesn't explain six not being that common. Well, I mean, is six like not? Does that just not show up, or is it always like specifically 7 notes and 5 notes? But I mean, maybe there's something about that, you know? Maybe it should be seven. I don't know. Some of the letter choices feel arbitrary, but there's so much overlap between all the words. Like Orwell and O'Tonal. Overlap between the words. Well, what I think I could see this being shorthanded to just diminished, because it's like the diminished, you know. But I actually think that this one sounds more diminished, but this is the one that's in the seventh chord. Andwell, Zorwell. Do you just mean that Orwell and O'Tonal sounds so, like they both have O's? I mean, another thing that you could do that I think would be less fun, but like you could literally just call these chords like sub 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 minor. Like you could literally just call them that sub 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 minor, minor sub. You know what I mean? Major super super major. Like you could just literally call them all that. Like just say the thirds. You like O'Tonal diminished, but why is Magic J? Oh, that yeah, that's just arbitrary. I'm just thinking like what do you abbreviate it with? Magic. Like you can't use M because it's major. Like what do you like if you have a better one, I'll do it. I was thinking of doing like a symbol like a star or something, but I don't know. That seems weird. You do star, but how would you like I prefer something kind of that seems sort of random like J. Like I think I was just thinking J like the just sound is in magic, but like I mean I really don't know what I wasn't really thinking that like hard about it. I just thought it made sense to me intuitively. But like you could do like C like this would be one way of doing it. You could do like CM with a little star and that could be minor magic, but seems confusing because that seems like the minor is the bass. Like I like the magic going first because it's telling you straight up like it's a magic triad. This is the type. To me that seems a little less confusing. If you said minor magic, that would be very confusing because you would think C minor, but it's not minor, it's a major chord. But I guess like lesser magic would, but like you wouldn't put C M like you wouldn't want to put C star dash. That would be weird. I guess you could. That like something like that could work, I guess. C lesser magic. Uh, potentially something like that, I guess, could work. Um, it's not really a better option. Yeah, I mean, there might be. I just don't know what it is. It's like J seems weird. W I did not come up with. Somebody else, I can't remember who, but someone in that same thread, I think they did like OW, or they did like diminished with a W or something. I can't remember, but I think they had a W in it. I was actually gonna go with R for Orwell, but I thought W is better because it's kind of like a flip of the little M, and they're kind of related. They're both kind of minory. And then the Z I felt like was like a flip of like the S, and it's like super majory. The J, I kind of felt like Wad Wizard like wants to call magic chords augmented. Like you could potentially, I mean, he didn't say that, but you could potentially say this is augmented, this is augmented minor and augmented major, but I don't like that. I think that's too confusing. I'd rather just highlight the fact that there's no real. It's definitely a matter of opinion. I think there's no equivalent augmented chord to what you have in 12. Z doesn't make sense. Well, like a S isn't super major, you know. I can't do S. And E is the name of a chord, you know. So it can't be a letter from a chord. And you know what I mean. So, but yeah, I think there could be good alternatives to these. Um, I mean, chemic makes sense because it's a K. And I guess Orwell's fine because the W is there. But yeah, I mean, maybe there's a way to rename these chords and get a better symbol to go along with them too. I don't really know. But yeah, I'll probably CSS. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a way of doing it. You do like sub super. I'm not gonna do that. I just think that's too formulaic. But I could definitely see I could see the incentive. I mean, I can understand why people would want to do it. That would be very clear. But I don't know. It kind so like, yeah. The thing is like you'd have to like basically name. You'd basically have to rename all the basic triads. I mean, not really, but because you could shorthand the basic triads, and then you could just. What I like about this is there's kind of like a I mean, I like how these names tie the chords into different temperaments, so that if there's a similar thing in another tuning, there's a potential for it being used there as well. They also just seem a little more like colorful, having like names. Granted, the traditional chord names are not that colorful, like major, minor, augmented, diminished. They're pretty technical and dry. So, you know, and sticking with that tradition, I could see just maintaining something dry. Um, but yeah, that's definitely a way you could do it, and that would cover everything. You could just literally just say the quality of the thirds. You have super sub, super minor, super major, super super, major super major 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 minor major major sub, minor super minor major, minor 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 sub, sub super. Normally that's how we talk about seventh chords and 12. Like we use kind of those same terms, so it'd be a little confusing in a couple instances, but you know, another option would be to say the quality of the third and then the quality of the fifth. So this would be the weirdest one. So this would be like C sub flat five, and then this would be like C sub um, C sub up sharp five or like double down five or whatever you want to call that weird one. Um, and then this would be like C sub down five, C sub minor, like you know what I mean. So you could just refer to the five. Um, that would be another way to do it. And then like when you got to these, like the super major would be like. Be like C super up five or whatever that is. I think that's up five. Yeah. And stuff like that. Um, major, minor, sub, super, minor, 4, 5, 6, 7, 9, 11. Yeah, I mean, you definitely. Yeah, I mean, that's probably like I think that's probably a good way of like notating um sometimes. But I think if you have names, they become like a shorthand. But you just have to know what they are. But I didn't even spend that much time with any of these temperaments, and I know what I have this whole thing memorized. I came up with it yesterday. I had it memorized like right away. To me, it feels very intuitive. So, I mean, I was already familiar with magic, but I just learned sense of magic. And I've played Orwell before, but it's not like I knew it like the back of my hand or anything. I just kind of like went over it, and I was like, oh, okay, this makes sense. So I definitely, and I did know porcupine. So basically, if you're familiar with some, and these are not, I mean, so like Orwell, porcupine, and sense of major or sense of magic, I mean, and magic. These are all like fundamental temperaments. Sense of magic relates to 11 Ito 2, I think. But yeah, these are all like fundamental temperaments that relate to 22. So other than like the sense of magic, I think most people who explore 22 touch on these scales, the Orwell and the porcupine and magic. Like most people who get to know 22 get to know those scales, those temperaments to some degree. It's very common. So they're kind of like fundamental structures of 22, just like the whole tone scale is like a fundamental structure of 12 Ito. And we don't call the porcupine scale the neutral second scale. You know what I mean? Like it's kind of, if you look at traditional harmony, yeah, we have like a lot of really dry terms and stuff, but I feel like it's definitely more normal in the Zen world to have like slightly more flavorful names. And I kind of like that because it's kind of nice to have something to. It's cool when you can kind of have both. Like if you can have some like technical, like notation, I guess. If you have some really like technical, dry to the point notation, and then if you have like something a little more flavorful, then you can like translate between the two. It's probably good to have both. Um, Main point of these names is to eliminate the confusion from stuff like C sub minor, up flat. Yeah, I mean it's like exactly like it gets confusing when you're like talking in like ups and downs and like I'm trying like one thing I've made it a point to do on all of these and also like the name like how I name the intervals is like no ups or downs in the chord names and no ups or downs in the interval names. So like my my interval system it'd be sub 2, minor 2, uh, neutral 2, major 2, sub, minor, major, super, and then the only one I haven't figured out yet is this area, because like it's really, but you could say like super 4 here, or like harmonic 4, but it's really tempting to just say up 4. I mean, you can call it an up 4. There's nothing wrong with that, but just to have like the hardest one to name is this stupid tritone. But hemi octave or whatever, I guess. sub 5. Or I don't know what to call this one. It's so annoying. Because, like, without ups or downs, how do you name this? And then P5, and then, and then but then, like, on scale notation, like if I'm writing out the notes of a scale or a chord, like I like to do like downs and ups and all that. Yeah. Sorry. So like on this, I like to use ups and ups and downs, and like 1, down 2, whatever, 3, just doing random. But then like have like alternative chord and interval names that don't use up and down. That way you avoid that whole thing of going like it of saying like C down, down minor, you know what I mean? Or like down major. Because if you use the ups and downs on everything, you'd have like, for like a major chord, you'd say, for like C major, you'd say, or like E minor, or you go down E, down E, up minor. You have up F, up minor. Which, you know, I guess makes sense, but just trying to not say up and down like for every little thing. Something like C major minor sub super minor is way harder to remember than C9. Yeah, exactly. No, yeah. That's you're 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 just, yeah, exactly. Exactly. That's kind of the goal here, is to get like decent shorthand. But yeah, I mean, I think if you have like really crazily extended chords and stuff, I mean, it's true in 12 equal too, though, already. Like, you could end up with some really weird. Like, if you just want to notate that tritone, it's just annoying. Like, if you wanted this, I think you just have to say, like, down sharp 11. Can you call that neutral? It's a 600% tritone. But it's between like augmented and, I guess it's not neutral. It's weird because it's like you go perfect fourth, then it's like an up fourth, then a double up fourth, and then a augmented fourth. It's like, what do you call that double up thing? That's the hardest interval. That midpoint. You can call it down 5. No, be double down 5. Yeah, it's so annoying. It's like down sharp 11. See, I think when you do like notating the chords like that, you kind of have to use the ups and downs. be like a C down sharp 11. Like that. It's all way too much to remember for you. Could we refer to the tritones as C major, add tri? Potentially, yeah. I mean, it's a sharp 11 chord, you know? It's a Lydian chord. But maybe you just call C Lydian. But that's almost like not specific enough. But maybe it is. Because what if you did like, you could do like C Lydian, could just mean a C major with a Lydian. And then you could do like, what if you wanted C super major 7 Lydian? Maybe even just do like a, not, it was like that. But it could also be like, let's be like down sharp. Oops. I mean, that would be this. Kind of cool chord. This would make sense to me. I mean, I don't have a problem with ups and downs. I don't want them to be like, I just think they're already like on the verge of being overused. I really like ups and downs. Like they're a really good system for 22. Like for stuff like this, like you need them. And I think for chord labels too. Like for adding extensions and stuff. But if you can avoid it like in all the chord names, I think that's better. Like I wouldn't want to do like down major or major and up major or stuff like that. They look a bit ugly. Does Lydian imply major tonality? I think so, but I think it implies the Lydian mode. But I could see how in a pinch, maybe you just use it to refer to the sharp 11. Like, you could say that like, mode 4 of harmonic major would be like Lydian minor. So it'd be like, what if you want a super Pyth Lydian? Yeah, I've explored this a bit. Yeah, So I think you have a couple options. So like if you're doing super Pythagorean, basically you can just play the super Pyth scale that's from the key up a fourth, you know? There, like, I think there's bugs in my instrument. Or on my instrument. Hopefully they're not in it. But yeah, so like you can play the key at G super Pyth and just start it on C. And that's a good one. Alternatively, you can just do that same tritone. I think that one's fine. If you do the up four, I don't think it works. It's not, it doesn't work. So I think you have two options for super Pyth. You can either just do the, this would be like the default. It'd just be like C, D, E, F sharp, G, A, B, C. So same as 12 basically. But yeah, if you want the down sharp 4, I think that works. And I think if you're a nice tone or super nice or whatever, do nice tone. I don't think the sharp 4 works as well. But the down sharp works great. And then the up 4 is not great, but it doesn't really sound Lydian anymore, but it's still cool. It's still a cool sound. That's with the down 2 and the up 4. Nice tone. If you do that in super nice, you get that weird scale I was playing earlier. Really like how it sounds. Sharp 4 is kind of like 16, 18, 20, 23, 24. Interesting. 16, 18. 23. Are you saying the sharp 4 is like that? $23 basically. Talking about that. Oh, I see what you mean, because it's got the really sharp augmented. Yeah, I never even thought about that. Yeah. A sharp 4 with a down 3. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, it's a sick chord. I just think it's a scale. Like I'm just saying I don't think it sounds Lydian. It sounds like something else. That one sounds Lydian to me. Like to me, with basically, I think if you want Lydian, nice tone, you use the down sharp. You use the tritone. And then if you're in super pyth, you use the sharp 4. And obviously there's other 4s you could use. You could use the up 4. You could use any of the 4s with any of the scales. I just think those are the two that specifically sound Lydian. The other ones are like kind of their own. They're Lydian-esque, but they're a little different. This also gets a bit of a kind of augmented second quality. It's a sub minor third, so that's why. So yeah, you'd have that augmented, I don't know if that's augmented second, but you'd have that like stretchy second. Okay, I should try to go to sleep. I gotta get up in a few hours. But yeah, thanks for hanging out, Ramils and Doman, and who else was here? That was it. Oh, Don. So yeah, nice to chat with y'all. And yeah, I should be back tomorrow. I'm going out of town. Thursday, so for like a week. I'm probably not going to stream when I'm out of town. If I do, it'll be like really weak sauce streams. Probably won't be probably won't have a mic or anything. But I'll probably just not stream. But maybe in my spare time, I'll probably harass the xenharmonic Discord some more with all this 22 stuff. But I should be here the next couple days until I leave. So, and then when I come back, July 12th, I'll be back before then. But next month, July 12th is the day I did my first Edo tier list. So July 12th will be Edo tier list 2 day. It's almost been a year since the Edo tier list. So I'm kind of excited because I've definitely have a lot of opinions now. A lot of experience and a lot of opinions. And we'll see how my mind has changed in a year and how it's stayed the same and all that. Okay, anyway. See y'all next time, everyone.